What's up, beautiful people? Today we're going to be checking out biology professor fired for teaching biology. But let's get to it.
He's a professor who taught a lesson about basic, unremarkable anatomy and physiology,
Easy.
and his college fired him. I'm Stuart Shepard, and this is First Liberty Live. Thank you for being part of this project, and thank you for sharing it with your friends and family. You're going to find this topic today, I think, particularly interesting. I've got two people to introduce to you. Keisha Russell is one of our attorneys here at First Liberty Institute, and Johnson Varkey taught anatomy and physiology at a college here in Texas and similar courses for 20 years.
Right.
Hi, Keisha. Hi, Johnson.
Hi, Stuart.
Good to see both of you. St. Philip's College is on the east side of San Antonio. The name would
St.
suggest it might be
Philip's
religious,
College.
but it's not. It's just a 125-year-old community college there. You taught there for 20 of those years. What does the school mean to you? Why were you there?
Yeah, I was a research scientist, but my passion was to teach all the time because I've been involved in ministry and I was involved in teaching. So my passion was to teach at St. Philip's College, being a well-reputed school. I always wanted to get in there and teach. So 20 years ago, I got that teaching position, and I've been teaching there for the last 20 years.
And that's part of what you do there. You also are an associate pastor at the church that you're with there in San Antonio.
Yes, I am an associate pastor at the International Bible Church. We're in San Antonio.
And to be clear, you keep those two roles separate, right? You don't
course.
bring the preaching into the classroom.
No, I sure don't.
Yeah, I'm sure we can talk about anatomy and physiology in church if you want to, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he probably
no, I
does.
don't bring
Shoot.
my preaching into my classroom when I teach about human anatomy and physiology. I just teach basic biology. That's
Let-
all I teach.
Let's talk about one particular day when you're in the middle of your lecture and you kind of notice that 4 students have gotten up and walked out of your classroom. What were you teaching that day that appeared to trigger them, to cause them to exit the room?
That day I was teaching the chapter on human reproductive system. So, when I teach human reproductive system, I emphasize on the fact that male and female, or the maleness or the femaleness, are controlled by 2 genes. See, in all our cells, we have 23 pairs of genes, and chromosomes. So the 23rd pair is that determines the sex of a person. So if that 23rd pair of chromosomes are X and X, it is a female, and if it's X and Y, it's a male. And I mentioned in the class that that's what makes male and female, not our thinking. Then second thing I would mention,
People say biology has evolved. He's teaching old biology. Somebody actually told me that in the comment section, that I still have the old mentality, that I'm not evolving. Maybe.
is to perpetuate human species, to continue our species, not just human species, any species. The sex has to be between male and female, not between 2 men or 2 women. To continue the species, that's how the body is designed. So the sex has to be between male and female.
Someone will argue that seahorses, I think it's seahorses, right? The males get pregnant.
And the third thing that I would mention is, see, when the sperm, which has 23 chromosomes, and the egg, which has 23 chromosomes, when they join together, we have 46 chromosomes. That's at the 23 pairs,
Right.
46 chromosomes. So that cell, which is the first cell, when the sperm and egg joins, that's the zygote, which has 46 chromosomes. That cell begins to divide. And if we allow that to divide and continue, in 38 weeks, we have a beautiful baby. And in that whole process, after the formation of the zygote, we are not adding any information into that, and we are not deleting any information from that cell.
It's a complete person.
That's a complete. So that's why I mentioned to them that zygote is the beginning of life, not at birth. When I mentioned all those four students, they just walked out.
Did you quote scripture?
No.
Did you get behind a pulpit and preach for a little bit?
No,
Strictly biology. I learned these things in high school. Yeah, it's funny that he's teaching it in university. Maybe for the medical students, maybe they have like a more advanced level of this. But I learned this thing in high school or even primary school.
And I've known you only for a short time, but I think I read you pretty well. You wouldn't do that.
No, I
It's
don't.
not what you do in the classroom, right?
I didn't do that.
And I also know that those of us who were, and I mostly paid attention in high school, but everything you just said, I learned when I was in high school.
Yeah.
See?
Stated pretty much just the way you just did, and also then repeated it when I got to college. There's nothing new here. There's nothing remarkable here. And frankly, I've been around the issues long enough. The gender studies people really, I don't think, would argue with you either, because they say their field of study is separate from what you just talked about, right?
Yeah, the gender study, I would say, this state the fact that X and X, those two chromosomes make a person female and XY male. That's all I mentioned in the classroom, and that's just mere biological fact.
So, what is First Liberty doing, Keisha? How are we stepping it? Oh, I need to mention the fact the school then fired you. Keisha, I'll get to you in just a second. I want to read a little excerpt from the letter that they sent you. And we just heard what the lesson was about, but they wrote you a letter, and they said there were several reports of, and this is in quotes now, religious preaching, discriminatory comments about homosexuals and transgender individuals, anti-abortion rhetoric, and misogynistic banter. Did that happen in your classroom?
No. What? For how many things did he even say?
Did the letter include any examples?
No. The thing is, what they said is that my teaching was offensive and unacceptable. That's the only two words that they use. And they never said, or he never said, what is my religious preaching, which I never did, and what is the comment that I made against any people. I never did any of those things in my classroom.
And it's worth mentioning, you'd been there 20 years.
Yes,
And you've taught these lessons over and over and over again, and this is the first time that this reaction happened.
So after 20 years, they just let him go just like that.
Right.
Keisha, you're looking at this as an attorney. What do you see?
Huge problems for the college. When I look at that, I see a couple of issues. One is that it's pretty clear that he's teaching science and biology according to his long experience and his very impressive academic record. And the other thing is, it's very clear he wasn't doing any religious preaching. But even if he were, those things, meaning if someone interpreted the idea that life begins at conception to be a religious statement, he's still allowed to make that statement during his class because he's still backing it up with biological facts, and it's in his position, it's fact. So according to academic freedom, according to the First Amendment, he would still be allowed to say those things, even if it were considered to be a religious statement. But in his view, it isn't a religious statement.
And it's not anti-abortion to say life begins at conception.
No.
That's not taking a political position against a procedure.
No, he's just saying what the curriculum, what his experience, what his education says is true. And that is something that he must do. And even further, the college didn't follow its own process, because even if they did receive comments and complaints, according to their process, he's supposed to receive those comments and those complaints and have an opportunity to respond. And neither was he able to see the complaints, nor was he able to respond to anything. He was just immediately fired. And so there are a lot of issues here, and a lot of bad things the college did to this professor.
And she hit on a key point. You never got to face your accusers. You don't know who they are.
No, I don't.
And you didn't get to go through the process that the school has put in place, right?
No, I don't.
And Keisha, that puts the school, frankly, in a bad position because they didn't even follow their own rules on this.
Yeah, that's right. And, besides the fact that this is unlawful under federal employment law, right? If they're considering his statements to be religious, they can't fire him for that reason anyway. You can't fire someone for being a religious person for even saying, these things. And so there's just a lot of issues here. And, we wrote the college a letter and let them know we want you to reinstate him. Otherwise, there will be further issues for you down the road.
Help us understand what makes this a First Liberty case. How does religious freedom enter into this?
Well, the college made it a religious liberty case because they said we're firing you because of your religious speech, because of your religious beliefs. And although he did not preach in the classroom, although he did not make religious statements in the classroom, even if anyone interpreted those things to be religious, the college still can't fire him for that anyways. They're supposed to engage in discourse in a classroom. We have this free exchange of ideas and this idea of academic freedom.
Oh no, not in 2023 classrooms. 2023 classrooms, all the students are just so offended by everything. You just can't say facts anymore. You have to say what is appealing to the students. That's how you teach now in 2023.
Which is very, very powerful in the university setting. And so for all those reasons, the university is wrong in its position, and it was wrong in firing Dr. Varkey, and it was even more wrong for not even allowing Dr. Varkey to respond before they fired him after 20 years of service.
And one important part of this also, on top of all that, is I assume you had a syllabus for your class, right, that you hand out, and that's approved by the college, correct?
Yes.
So they put their stamp of approval and said, yes, go teach this.
Yes.
It seems wrong that they come back and say, but not like that.
Yeah, the syllabus, textbook, all the notes, everything is provided by the department. So we just follow the syllabus, we follow the textbook, follow the notes that the department gives. So that's all I did.
What would you like to see happen?
As Krish has said, I want my position back. They need to reinstate me back, and help me to do what I love to do, which is to teach.
If they won't reinstate him back, they should just pay him the salary and ask him to stay home. Since he's such a problem, right? They should pay him to stay home.
All right. Keisha, anything else you'd like to share before I let you go?
No, I just want to thank you for having us on, allowing Dr. Varkey to share his story, and just to tell anyone else that if they experience anything like that, they need to contact us at firstliberty.org, and we'll see how we can help.
Very good. Dr. Varkey, Keisha, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you.
We're wishing you the best. We'll be at your side every step of the way.
Thank you.
All right. If you like the idea of a legal organization pushing back against this kind of thing, would you consider supporting our work here at First Liberty? This is what we do. It's an important aspect of the work that we do every day. When people are just living their lives and trouble comes knocking on their door, we're there to stand beside them as they go through the process and to help make things right again. So on firstlibertylive.com, just look for the big red give button up at the top of the page. First Liberty is fighting for what matters most.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. And that's not the first time. The other one we saw, I think it was in the UK, I believe, where this lady was fired because she went to a girls' school and said, "Good morning, girls." She was fired for that. And now this man is teaching biology and was fired for teaching biology. It's crazy. What do they want him to teach? Okay, now how do you explain sex and gender and reproductive organs in a classroom? Like, how would you explain that to make it appealing for everybody? This is a genuine question. I'm not trying to make fun of anything here. Just let me know if you can explain it without, offending people. Talk to me in the comment section. I think a video we saw was I don't remember who it was, but they asked, somebody was advocating for the acceptance of all these genders or all these genders. I think they asked him, how many genders do we have? He said, I don't know, but it's more than 2. So now how do you teach that? Some people say it's 72, some say 73, I've heard someone say 152. Imagine your biology textbook where the genders are written. Number 1, they write everything about this gender, the whole biology, and then you have to read to the 152nd one. Crazy, bro. Crazy. I wonder what schools will be like in 2030. If in 2023 they are like this, then 2030 it's gonna be scary. Homeschool your kids, guys. It's the end of this video. Smash the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
I made this bed on my own.